You're live! Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me on my channel. Please subscribe and like. Just click below if you want notifying when I come on. Click the little bell below. Thank you for being here. Okay, I want to talk about the Pilates scam. And I've wanted to say this, and I have said this for quite a while, but I haven't said it recently. And the reason I'm saying that is because over the last few years, every time I watch videos on YouTube or I watch people doing stuff in classes through doors and in Instagram and all that, I see people calling exercise Pilates. I also went to a number of studios in other countries recently, and I honestly got to say that I'm really, really saddened by people thinking that they're doing Pilates and they are not. And this morning I went to a mat work Pilates class, and I actually spoke to the teacher at the end of it, and I wasn't having a go at the teacher. I found out because I'm genuinely curious. I found out that the woman who I know from the fitness industry from 35 years ago, I remember hiring this woman to do some workshops and what have you. This woman trained this girl in her Pilates training, and this woman had never done Pilates before until she went to do her training. And I was in the class, and there's one thing. There's a difference between like thinking a teacher's not very good, right? Some teachers are not very good. I'm like a real master at teaching. I've been teaching for a really long time. I know my staff. I trained my teachers. I did apprenticeships. I'm not looking for people to be fab teachers, experienced teachers. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that whole technique has been lost, and it's really, really frustrating. Because first of all, if somebody's going to train as a Pilates teacher, they need to have done some Pilates with a decent teacher. They can't go in to do training if they've never done Pilates before. It's like me going to become a Tai Chi teacher and I've never done a Tai Chi class before. It just is just not right. It's incongruent. It's out of integrity. But then there's the training. Now, here's my problem. With my teachers, they came and they did an apprenticeship. They did a sort of 6 to 9 month apprenticeship in my studio, and I taught them, and they'd been clients beforehand. The problem with these level one, level two, level three, and I can't. And the other thing is, I've been going to a PT to see what's going on in the gyms. It is appalling, the lack of knowledge. There's level one, level two, level three. Now, both of the teachers I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks are level three teachers. When I attempted many years ago, maybe a decade ago, to get my courses accredited with the government's whatever the fancy body is now, the level one, the level two, and the level three, what they wanted to know was not my ability to understand or teach Pilates. What they wanted to know was if I could spend several £1,000s on asking about 2 million questions, which 80% was all about where's the I am teaching. And it's an insult to anybody who is a master at their art. It is an insult. Now, you may or may not know that the yogis, and I'm also a yoga teacher as well, but yoga was handed down. It was handed down from teacher to student, from teacher to student. The student then practiced a lot and became the teacher, learnt from the teacher, and then that student became the teacher and handed it down. And so it went on. And that's how I think a real teacher, a real master, a real guru, not that I like the word guru anymore, but you know what I mean? Somebody who has really mastered their craft. Only what's happened, you see, is not only now is the Pilates world diluted with a complete mindset of covering this level one, level two, level three of the government requirements, which is just absolute BS as far as I'm concerned. But what's also happened is, the whole quality, the whole essence of Pilates has shifted. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I'd been teaching Pilates for 10 years, and I came in as a fitness instructor, and I trained initially with Michael King, who was a fitness instructor, and he's still teaching, and it was very safe and effective and constant, and it was all about alignment, and we did exercises, and it was quite fitnessy. What's happened since then is the whole word Pilates has turned into a some kind of fitness program, fitness exercise that has completely lost its technique. Now, if you're interested in Pilates, what you need to know, and I've actually just recorded an introduction to the basics of, I've called it Shaktilates, because for me, to even call it Pilates now, in my world, doesn't actually describe what it is. Because if people haven't understood the basic principles, the basic concepts of what Pilates is, and the essential teachings to get all the basic moves understood, then you are never working from the inside out. Fit from Within was my studio, and it was all about Fit from Within, starting with a solid foundation. And sadly, what I saw in the session this morning was somebody who was standing in front of about 30 people who sadly didn't have the alignment, the understanding, the technique to know anything about Pilates at all. Um, who is also teaching a whole host of other fitness uh, techniques, or all the body pumps and all that stuff. Now, it's fair enough if you're not paying a lot and you belong to a gym and the teacher's doing this, that, and the other, and then you've got all the studios that teach their own teachers, and they're doing their thing, and that's fine. There's always going to be good quality and bad quality, but there has to be some standards, surely. It's a scam. It's an absolute scam. And I was doing some sessions with a wonderful young trainer in the gym, and this trainer hadn't even heard of fascia, didn't know which muscle I was focusing on, didn't know what I was meant to be feeling when I was doing exercises. I booked her for motivation because I wanted to do half an hour 3 times a week to get me back into doing my weight training with my Pilates alignment, so I always go very slowly in the gym. Um and and the other kind of shock, not shock, is that I've also heard that an awful lot of the personal trainers who are working in these gyms are addicted to some steroid thing. What is it? It's something that diabetics, I can't even think what it is. It's a hormone or something. Um, and they're sick. They're just sick. Now, 35 years ago, we were doing the same. We were eating loads of sugar and chocolate. We weren't healthy, but we needed the energy to just keep pumping out all the adrenaline and doing all the classes. And I just think, the whole health, I won't call it the health industry, the whole fitness industry hasn't really changed. If you go into a fitness club and you see the foods that they're offering in there, and the sugar and the chocolates and okay, some of them, I know people like David Lloyd are offering smoothies with a few leaves of spinach and a bit of fruit and what have you. They're probably a little notch up, but the majority of what they're selling is, I won't say it's crap, but maybe David Lloyd aren't too bad. Although I had a horror story with David Lloyd last year, and I won't ever go back to them again. But that was more down to the management, and me having a flood in my home, and them charging me when I'd already asked to speak to somebody about my membership, and no one got back to me. So that's just a particular thing with the club in Hatfield, where I had a lot of problems. But this is happening not just in my industry. This is happening, I believe, in every industry. I believe there is so much scam around. I went to several studios in Bali, and you can get away with it. I've been in Australia, I've been in Brisbane and Melbourne in particular. I went to quite a few studios, and they kind of say, look, we're fitness Pilates, and we're using the reformer. And they're using the reformer to do moves, to do fitness moves. And they're calling it Pilates because they're using a reformer. And you can kind of just about get away with that in my world. But if you're gonna teach 30, 40, 50 people, I was teaching 50 people in the local private health club 25 years ago. And in the end, I refused. I just said, look, if there's more than 6 people in the class, I can't really call this Pilates. You can't adjust people. You can't look at people. Pilates should be taught one-on-one. And, and that's that. But if you're going to teach a big group of people, at least freaking teach them Pilates. At least offer them the basics of Pilates that they're doing it. And oh God, it just annoys me. It annoys me that I've dedicated 3 decades to teaching this technique, and it's just been bastardized. It's been completely and totally bastardized. So if you do go to Pilates, find out where your teacher trained, find out if they were doing Pilates and practicing Pilates before they trained. Look at their posture. Yeah. If they're demonstrating arm exercises and their head's going forwards and their shoulders are going up and their legs are collapsing in, you can probably assume that they don't really understand the technique. And I'm not saying my posture's perfect, because it's not, but there are some basic fundamental core principles of what is actually an art form. It's not even an exercise technique. But when I had been teaching Pilates for 10 years on the mat, I went to a studio and I found a teacher who was teaching with a Pilates reformer and the chair, the ladder barrel, and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, it was like I didn't know Pilates. Like, she was asking me to do things that I couldn't do. And those of you that know good Pilates will know that a good teacher has got a good eye and can pick up exactly where your body is not doing what it needs to be doing and is being compensated somewhere else, which is the whole point. The whole point of Pilates is about expansion, and it's about connection, and it's about relationship. And the way I teach Pilates is that you don't need to suck your belly in, but when your bones are aligned, your core naturally is activated. So there's a whole load of people that learned Pilates when I was teaching it sort of 25 years ago, and all this sucking your belly and like crazy. All it did was cause loads and loads of women in particular to have severe abdominal problems, because the unnaturalness of this quite masculine technique of contraction and alignment. Now, I'm absolutely all for alignment, completely. But the idea is that once we've got that strength and that alignment, that we can then move the body from that strong core. So the idea of having the balance of the masculine and the feminine, the contraction, the alignment, and the flow, this is what I'm doing with Shaktilates, and I'm calling it Shaktilates because actually it's getting to the point where I don't want to be associated with what most public are seeing is Pilates, because it's not Pilates. So the governing body, whoever the governing body is of Pilates, and I believe that in the UK we don't actually have a governing body. I might be wrong. Let me know, please. I'm going to share this video with a good friend of mine who has a studio in Melbourne, a home studio in Melbourne, because I trust her and she does classical Pilates. Um, but even if you're doing modern Pilates, just make sure that, the teacher's standing upright and has got the neck alignment and is keeping the shoulders down and understands the distance. It's no good saying have a hand space between your ribs and your hips. You need to be a bit more clear about how you are connecting into your core. And some of the suggestions and some of the teaching points, or lack of teaching points, I have heard or not heard, it just makes me think, Christ, what's the future of Pilates? If this is where the public are literally being fooled into thinking they're doing Pilates? Because once you've got the technique of Pilates, then you can apply that strength, that core strength. And don't even talk to me about core classes, because core classes are so not core classes. I can't believe it. Like, if someone says to me they're doing a core class, I'm like, no, thank you. Core is not all about sucking your belly in. Trust me. If you want to give yourself some digestive issues, then go to a core class and suck your belly in and overwork your hip flexors. So that's my little rant, and I called this the Pilates scam because I do actually feel like it's a bit of a scam. And for those people who are pumping out course after course after course, I mean, I've trained in other styles of fitness with people who are also offering Pilates teacher training, and I've done their classes, and then the quality is not good. The standards are not good in the Pilates world right now. Um, and I might as well throw in a little promo for my 5-session course on the basics. It's going to be out really soon, available for a very affordable, under £40, five sessions. And when I get the link, I will put the link below. But if you want to subscribe to my channel, or if you want to subscribe to my website, I'll put the links below. Thank you for listening. I hope I haven't been too mean to any Pilates teachers who might be listening to this, who are thinking, "What a bloody cheek!" But I have to say it as it is, and I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed in the Pilates world. And incidentally, the picture on the cover of this video is me doing a classical yoga pose, because at the end of the day, you can say anything is anything and do anything and anything, and it's all whatever you want to call it. So I could call my next yoga class, where we're doing some classical postures, I could call it Tai Chi, and no one would know the difference, because nowadays, quite frankly, you can say and do and get away with anything that you like. Thank you for listening. Give me your comments below if they're polite. Do subscribe, do like, do share if you like my content, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.